Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Joining us today is Program Director of Public Opinion Program at the University of Hong Kong, Robert Chong. Professor Chong, we've been talking about the so-called small circle election, but what people really want is the regulation of the chief executive. What can we learn from the election this time? Is there we are moving closer to the regulation or moving away from the regulation?
Well, I tend to take an optimistic view that we are actually moving closer. But some people think we are actually stepping a little bit backward. Well, if you look at the issues being discussed during the election, then Alan Leung, obviously, at the beginning of his campaign, stressed very much that he is advocating direct election 5 years later. So that is almost his single issue for the election. Of course, finally he changed a little bit, right? He became more diversified. But through this election campaign, this issue of political reform, democratic development was on the table, and it was debated. And of course, people heard about it. Everybody knows Donald Trump is going to win. But we want him to tell us through the debate, does he have a timetable? Is he committed to a certain kind of proposal? Well, he gave some answers, okay? And it's not very definite, but in any case, it's some kind of promising that he will try to work out a solution within the next 5 years. So it was during this kind of debate, this campaign, that we see this issue being discussed. So for that matter, I think we are moving closer to a solution. But of course, some people say we're moving backward because they would say the best way to have direct election is to fight for it. Okay? You don't participate in small circle election because once you participate it, you basically endorse it. Well, that is another sort of academic point of view. But I think most Hong Kong people tend to take a more pragmatic point of view. They do want direct elections because almost all the surveys that we and other academic institutions have done has consistently shown that about 60 to 70% of the general public support direct election as soon as possible.
Yeah, but momentum, 4 years ago, July 1st, 2003, is the momentum losing its, speed or getting more momentum for the direct election?
Well, the July 1st march on 2003, I think it was a sign of people's frustration. It's a frustration against the leadership, the old leadership, Tong, right? And it's not just for democratic reform, but there are a whole lot of mismanagement, political conservatism. So they're all put together. And of course, if you remember, there's also this basic law, Article 23, which sort of touch on the very basic freedom of Hong Kong. So that was a multi-issue rally. It was only about a year after that 2003 election, March, that the Democrats decided to use universal suffrage as their theme, sort of to continue this kind of demand. But I think from what we have seen from the general public, when Tong was removed, people saw their anger has dissipated. They want democracy for sure, but they are not that angry and frustrated to go to the street, a whole lot of them, to ask for this kind of democracy, especially when they know China, Beijing, is a little bit nervous about these naughty Hong Kong people. So I think Hong Kong people are quite wise in that they want freedom, they want democracy, they want prosperity. They don't want to annoy Beijing, but they will do it in their own way, sort of sometimes softer, sometimes harder, and they want to get what they want in a peaceful way. So this is the way I read Hong Kong people. They are really pragmatic and very, in a way, very wise.
But you say that maybe Chief Executive Donald Trump has something in mind to have some sort of timetable for the democratic reform in Hong Kong. But is he the one who has the final say about this kind of reform or even timetable for universal suffrage?
Now, this is really a very important, very good question. In the past, we know Beijing has been behind all these political changes in Hong Kong. One reason, they don't quite trust Hong Kong people, right? When they see all these people marching on the street, when they see all these democratic, legislator, they're a bit frightened and worried about them. So they are a little bit nervous. They don't have enough confidence. Likewise, Hong Kong people doesn't have much faith in Beijing as well. So the distance between them are much farther apart. Okay, so now Donald has been in place for 2 years. My reading of it is that he was on probation for 2 years. Okay, of course Beijing will support him in all official words, but I think deep in their heart they're still trying to see, is this sort of British trained official, civil servant, trustworthy, good enough for another 5 years? And it seems that they have made a conclusion that yes, we could try him for another 5 years. And it seems that Donald Zhong has been successful in sort of getting these kind of trust from Beijing. Now he got the post, presumably have 5 years, unless something very astounding happened. So we now would like to see, I would like to know, is Donald Zhong going to exercise his real willpower? Does he really trust in democracy? Now, if he really doesn't trust in democracy, you could see that he will be a very strong leader who will try all the way to brush aside all these important developments. But if he, as he said, that he does trust democracy, he does want the democracy, then the coming 5 years will be a very good time for him to practice, for him to work it out with a little bit of sort of skill to please the Beijing officials, and of course to pacify the Hong Kong people and come up with some kind of solution. He said in the coming year, there will be some kind of proposal being discussed amongst some kind of committee, and those proposals will be open to the public for discussion. And he sort of promised that when he stepped down 5 years later, that constitutional problem will be resolved. So he has a timetable of 5 years, and I would just hope to see that he understands Hong Kong people as he claims he does.
But one question that people may ask is that, given the fact that he's directly elected by the people, is not directly elected by the people, it's through a very strange, election committee system. Where does his mandate come from?
He doesn't quite have the popular mandate. And it seems that he understands the problem. So he is relying on opinion polls.
Okay.
Right?
That's your job.
Well, yes, that's my job, and there's also other researchers' job. He knows the problem. So I always think that, we have two different indicators of his popularity. One is an absolute rating of 0 to 100 points. So on that, he roughly got, for the moment, about 60-something. Okay, but we could also use a sort of Western-style popular indicator, like if you're going to vote tomorrow, would you support him? So that would be this kind of popularity rate. For that, he has been enjoying about 70% support. Now, that is very different from Tong Chee-hwa, Six Tong. Six Tong, when he has his lowest popularity, he only got 35 marks out of 0 to 100. For this rating, if you had a vote, he got only about 12%. That is disastrous,
That's
right?
right?
But he could still keep his office because Beijing was behind him. Right? Now, if Donald Zhong, his popularity gets a bit lower, I would think, say, 55 marks, he would be in danger. If his popularity of a hypothetical vote goes down to 40 or 50, he'll be in trouble. So he knows he doesn't have a mandate. But because he has this kind of high popularity support, he has a good bargaining power of Beijing. So I guess he will continue to pay very important monitoring and all kind of strategy to boost his popularity rates. This is something special to him and not to Tong Chee-hwa.
But what can he do to boost his popularity rate? By introducing political reform in Hong Kong?
Well, in the past 2 years on his probation period, he had also faced tough problems, but he managed it quite well. In Hong Kong, well, there are quite a number of big issues, like the West Kowloon Cultural District. Well, that has been a very nasty issue, but at some point, because, well, he said the public seems not to support this, so he brushed it aside. And at the end, oh, that's fine, people accept him. So it seems that he was sometimes bold enough to make decisions according to public opinion. And I guess he will continue to do it in the next 5 years, that when something gets really disastrous, according to opinion surveys, then he will change his mind sharply. But for the political reform, I think it's a hot potato. One way or another, he will have a very difficult time with it. But I guess from what we have seen in the past 2 years, he has sort of gained significant confidence from the people that if he made a certain mistake on this and that, people still could accept him. So I guess he will try to rally or gather all his momentum or his trust to try to handle this political issue very carefully in the next 1 or 2 years.
In addition to making appeal directly to the people, one important feature of democracy is check and balances between different branches of the government. Do you think the current Legislative Council powerful enough to hold, the chief executive accountable?
No, I don't think so. I think after the handover, actually before the handover, Hong Kong has always stressed on an executive-led government. So this kind of check and balance is not quite there in Hong Kong throughout. Of course, it's a very modern way of saying what a good government should be, but that has never been the right model for Hong Kong. So the Legislative Council, compared to the executive government, is relatively weak, and it's still relatively weak. But that is that is really part of Hong Kong life. But the judiciary, which is another sort of monitoring mechanism, is well respected in Hong Kong because Hong Kong has its own traditional rule of law. That is strong, but strong not in a political sense.
That's right.
Right? It's a strong check and balance mechanism where people could resort to when they really want to fight against the government. And I think that will stay. That will stay. The legislature is not strong. The executive is very strong. And then for Western democratic societies, we said maybe the media could check and balance the government, right? Perhaps the academics could do it too. Well, Hong Kong doesn't yet have a very strong, powerful, and professional media and academics. We are trying, right, to gain momentum. But I think the balance of the Hong Kong society, well, it's a very delicate balance. It's still a very good balance because we are having the best freedom we have.
That's right.
But without democracy, okay. But still, it's running very smoothly and Hong Kong is prosperous. But people are demanding more and more democracy because the more educated people become, the richer they become, they want more power in their hands. So that will have to change. And I would like to bring in perhaps one entirely different perspective, in that Hong Kong's future doesn't rely on what happens within Hong Kong society. We have to look into what happens in mainland China. China is developing very quickly, and their new leaders their mindset is changing. So at some point in time, Hong Kong would be much safer than now because their new leader wants to see Hong Kong as a model. So I guess Hong Kong's future, in a way, is very much determined on what happened in China.
That's right. But how about young people's interest in going into politics? Is that sort of ideal or very remote for many young people?
Well, according to the sort of most popular analysis or most frequent analysis, Hong Kong young people are not that interested in politics, and we have a lot of reasons to explain it. But I think there's only one key reason. Do you give power to the people? If you really give power to, let's say, the legislature or the district council, then some people will get into that position.
That's right.
Through competition, through that kind of debate campaigning, there will be talents. We don't have to educate them.
That's right.
There are somebody down there, but if you give them the opportunity, they will come. And society could educate itself very quickly. By very quickly, I mean 1 year, 2 years is good enough. Once you give the power, they will come. So I'm not that pessimistic about, well, Hong Kong education system is not good for democracy. But that's the excuse for the government, right? We don't have the talent, people are not interested. Well, I don't think that is the way. You give them incentive, they come. Hong Kong people are very practical, educated, and in a way quite talented.
Yeah.
You give them opportunity, they come right away.
Yeah.
As Alan learned for this chief executive election, when he first appeared, he's just a little bit like a dumb man, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
He's very dull. But you give him the opportunity, he goes into the debate, he's a new person.
That's right. Yeah. China seems to be very low profile this time during the campaign and election. So when we come back, we'll talk about the role of China in the democracy in Hong Kong. And on the other hand, we can talk about the role of Hong Kong for China's democracy in the future. Stay with us. We'll be right back.